But nothing is as it appears. Unless we see through the eyes of the Scripture, unless we see through the eyes of God, we never understand anything as it is. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada and all the great acharyas say we should see through the eyes of the Scriptures. So today we're seeing through the eyes of the Scriptures. Hiranyakashipus. And actually, Prabhupada gave a lot of affection to Hiranyakashipu. I listened to one tape some time back. It was Prabhupada speaking on Lord Narasimha Dev's appearance. He was giving a lecture on the glories of Lord Narasimha Dev. And in the lecture, toward the beginning, he says, all glories to Hiranyakashipu. He said, we owe him so much. If it wasn't for Hiranyakashipu, Narasimha Dev would not have appeared. Prabhupada called him Shriman Hiranyakashipu. He was praising him. He didn't praise his actions, but factually, it took someone like him to bring Lord Narasimha Dev, who's now eternally worshipable, even millions of years later. But what we learn from this story, one is, yes, the nature of the soul and the nature of this world. What is truth and what is illusion? Nashato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate shata. The Gita says. Those who are the seers of truth understand this, that what is real has no cessation. What is real is forever. And whatever is temporary is unreal. So we want to keep our mind fixed on what is real. What are the needs of the soul? How this material nature, if we understand material nature in relationship to God, then we see that material nature is not an illusion. That everything around us, our bodies, these books, these couches, everything, all the elements of material nature is not an illusion. If we see it in relation to God and use it in the service of God. Illusion means when we forget the eternal connection everything has with Krishna. This world is not an illusion. It is illusory. It appears to be something it isn't. It appears to be something for you to enjoy, but it's actually all meant for God's enjoyment. And truth is to see it in that way and use it for God's enjoyment. And the illusion is to see it is mine. It is for me. And that is the cause of all suffering and all bondage. We also learn from these verses, well, let us say from the whole story, including these verses, how important our motivation is. We often quote Prabhupada that Krishna does not see what you offer. Krishna sees the purpose in which it is offered. We could have great knowledge, but what is our purpose? Is our purpose prestige? Is our purpose to use our great knowledge to exploit others? Is the purpose of our great knowledge to gain something for my own false ego or my own sensual passions? Krishna sees the purpose. In Srirangam, there were many great pundits who knew the scriptures profusely. And they were also very pious and ethical people. But there was the one illiterate Brahmin who was reading Gita. It would take him a long time because he didn't know how to read properly. But every day he would read the entire Bhagavad Gita. People would laugh at him. Other pundits. Every word practically he was saying was mispronounced. Just stumbling. And not only did he mispronounce it, he didn't even know what the words meant. Yes. Gives hope for some of us. We recite the Sanskrit verses, but how many of you know what it all means? Some of you do. Most of you don't. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he singled out that one man. The other pundits, he just gave them formal respect. But this illiterate Brahmin, he came to him and asked him, tell me, what is it you're reading? And the Brahmin said, actually, I don't know. I don't understand what these words mean. Sometimes I say it wrong, sometimes right. I don't know the difference. But my Guru Maharaj ordered me to read Gita every day. And I have taken that order as my life and soul. Let anyone criticize me, let anyone judge me, let them do anything they want. But I must sit here in public and read it every day because it was my Guru Maharaj's instruction. Quite humiliating. In the public, the high seat of learning for the whole South India. But his Guru's order was strong. That was his purpose, to please his Guru. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely satisfied. If your motive is to please your Guru sincerely and honestly, then Krishna in your heart is going to be pleased. And he's going to empower. But how he empowers? The amazing thing, Krishna, the Paramatma in the heart of this Brahmin, was so pleased that he was trying to please his Guru. Now most of us would think that means he would empower him to speak eloquent Sanskrit, even though he didn't know it. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayatengarim yat kripatamaham bande sigurum dinataranam. We often chant this verse. By the mercy of Guru, a lame man can climb mountains. A blind man can see stars in the farthest parts of the universe. And even a dumb man can speak eloquent poetry. Yes? So if this man is pleasing his Guru, why is he speaking Sanskrit? Why isn't Krishna helping him? It's not eloquent. It's not poetic. It's all chopped up and wrong. Was he empowered? Yes, he was supremely empowered. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, if you don't understand what you're reading, then, why are you crying? Why are you looking so ecstatic? He said, because as I'm reciting, I'm only seeing Shyam Sundar. Beautiful, beautiful dark complexion. Most beautiful form of the Lord. So mercifully, he's holding the reins of Arjuna's chariot, acting as the servant of his devotee and instructing him in the Gita. Even though he's saying every word wrong, he's seeing Krishna at every moment in the core of his heart. He's seeing Krishna's love for his devotee, which is the essence of bhakti. And therefore, he's feeling ecstatic love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cried out in ecstasy. He said, you are the true knower of Bhagavad Gita. Doesn't understand a word, but you are the true knower. Because he understands the essence, to love Krishna, to be attracted to Krishna. And Krishna's revealing himself to the Brahman. Why? Because of his purpose. He was humble. He was sincere. He was willing to endure any type of criticism or humiliation, but he had to carry out the order of his guru. He wanted to please his guru. And there are so many stories in this regard. Krishna sees our motivation. Hiranyakashipu was a great mystic yogi. He was a great scholar. But his motivation was off. And therefore, because of his motivation, he used all of this great power for the wrong purpose. What God has given for the welfare of humanity, he used it for creating suffering of humanity. When Hanuman just came to Sri Lanka, he was in disguise, just trying to do some extra service. Devotees always eager to do something more. His mission was to get that ring to Sita and tell Sita that to find out where she is and give her the message that Rama's coming. But he investigated the entire Sri Lanka so that he could give concise, analytical strategies of war. He was just going everywhere, looking. He was looking for Sita, but on the way, he just wanted to see everything. So he knew where its weak points, where its strong points. And when he came to Ravana's house, massive palace, in Ravana's bed, gigantic bed, made out of crystal, Hare Krishna, decorated with jewels and gold, and there were the most beautiful, beautiful ladies from all over the universe that were just laying on the floor all around his bed for his pleasure. And there he was, laying, asleep. Hanuman looked at him. Actually, Hanuman was impressed. What type of person is this? So learned, so powerful. And actually, it appears that Ravana was very beautiful. Usually in our pictures, he's just like, rah. But Hanumanji was really impressed. Hanuman was thinking, if only it was a devotee, everything, he would have been the greatest. We would all follow him. We would all, assist him in his great mission. And he was so austere. He just drank milk, sometimes little fruit, nothing else. And he longed to get in there. And Srivas brought him in. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised him. Said, it is not by your austerity of just drinking milk that you are fit to see the Supreme Lord. It's not by your knowledge, it's not by your celibacy as a brahmachari, it's your motivation that's important. And he used the example. What was the qualification of Gajendra to see the Lord directly? He was an elephant. He wasn't even human. He wasn't a scholar. Just an elephant just walking around in the forest. Totally attached to his family. But when he was in danger, he took shelter of the Lord. That was his qualification. What was the qualification of Hanuman and the monkeys? They're monkeys, they're not humans. They're wild people, they're wild. Lord Chaitanya said, what was the qualification of the gopis? They were not scholars. They were not ascetics. They were not yogis. They were simple cowherd maids, just milking cows, and doing what their parents told them, unless Krishna had another idea. Because they had devotion. Because their motivation was to please the Lord. That is all important. Srila Prabhupada begins the first of his cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam with that wonderful verse that even if a person recites or writes incorrectly, if the motive is to glorify the Lord and please the spiritual master, then not only that person will be purified, but anyone who hears that mispronunciation will become purified. Yes? To hear a person who wants to be God or wants some material benefit from his spirituality, to hear such a person recite perfect Sanskrit could contaminate you. Now, to hear a devotee recite perfect Sanskrit will completely purify you. But to hear a devotee who wants nothing other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even recite very wrong Sanskrit, you'll be equally purified. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Prabhupada said there are many greater Sanskrit scholars than me. Why his Bhagavad Gita transformed the hearts of millions, and the other scholars could not transform anyone's heart? Because of his purpose, his love for Krishna, his compassion to all living beings, his unmotivated, uninterrupted desire for devotional service. So besides learning from this particular verse about the nature of the soul and the nature of the illusory energy appearing to be something it's not because of our own misconceptions, more importantly, how important it is to cultivate the proper purpose. Anyabhilashita sunyam jnana karmanya navidam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. That is the foundational verse for the whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the whole science of bhakti. That whatever level we may be on, our goal, our aspiration should be pure devotional service, uncontaminated by desire for fruitive activities, desire for mystic powers, or even desires for impersonal liberation. Our motivation should simply be to favorably give pleasure to Krishna, especially through chanting His holy name.